Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Tuesday, March the 8th, 2016, and I have the very distinct honor and great pleasure of welcoming back to the show Mr. Daniel Ameduri, who has a plethora of YouTube channels, including Future Money Trends, Vision Victory, Victory Independence, Crush the Street, all of which can be found under his website banner, futuremoneytrends.com. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, sir. It's a real pleasure to be talking to you this morning.
Well, I'm really, really grateful to have you back with everything that's happening in the resource sector and your connections with these top executives in the resource sector, like Marin Katusa, Keith Neumeyer, Amir Adani, Sprott, Rick Rule, and that's just to name a few. Wanted to get your take on what's happening with the in the miners in the resource sector, and you're working with all this world-class talent that gives you a perspective of the mining sector is very unique, which is the main reason for asking you on the show. The miners, even though words like mining and miners and mining stock, which my wife has banned, are on a very serious tear that began a few months ago. And as you, Daniel, have said, along with my colleague and co-host for Shadow of Truth, Daniel Cransford, says as well, the smart money is moving into the resource sector to scoop up these incredibly valuable assets for pennies on the dollar. With gold and silver on the move, which is leading? Mining or physical metal? Who's in charge of this market at this point?
Well, liquidity is going to go into the mining sectors just because it's easier. And if you have a $1 billion fund, it's unlikely that you're going to have the physical metal delivered, or you're going to purchase a lot of physical through the GLD, which really isn't physical, as you know.
Right.
So the mining stocks, just to give you an idea, the sector itself has had more money flow into it in the past 6 months than the past 3 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's big money coming into this sector. Anybody who looks at a historical chart, it got really bad. The commodities sector itself, according to the Bloomberg Index, I mean, it was down to its lowest level ever. On January 19th, the TSX Venture, which has all the junior mining exploration, which is kind of the lifeblood of the whole mining sector, the TSX Venture made an all-time low. The GDXJ, which tracks the gold and silver juniors, on January 19th made an all-time low. Now, some interesting things that are developing, though, is that the majors, the most liquid companies like Barrick Gold and Newmont Mining, those companies started an uptrend in September of 2015. And remember, gold still made another low in December of 2015.
Yep.
So the mining stocks, the bigger ones, were leading the way, leading the charge. In fact, they're up significantly. These are large billion-dollar companies that have literally doubled in the past 7 months here. So they're up over 100%. Next, you saw gold start to rise. And even on that day of January 19th, when the juniors were having that final washout, gold and silver were actually not going down. So gold and silver are now the best performing assets on the market today. The juniors are starting to increase as well. So your mid-tier producers, like two of our favorites, First Majestic Silver and Endeavor Silver, yep, those companies are up significantly. Silver's only had maybe a 8-9% move here. Those companies have doubled since middle of January.
Oh my!
The next thing that would happen is once gold crosses the $1,300 level, you'll start to see the junior exploration stocks start to begin to move up, and we're already seeing that. One of our recent suggestions was Amir Adani's Brazil Resources. It's gone from 50 cents to about 67 cents in just the past week here. So they're starting to make their moves, especially now that gold has crossed 1263. It is in a technical bull market. Silver's lagging way behind. That should cause some concern here. However, looking at last year, how silver and gold responded, being only 10% down while everybody else was down 30% in terms of the metals, And this year, they're the best performing assets. I think we're flying here, and I do think this is a new bull market for gold. And as far as the who's winning, if people wanted to look at the percentage, there is no doubt that the mining stocks have been banned from a lot of people's marriages because they were horrendous during the downturn. But it will be the opposite in the bull market, and we're already seeing that. Like I said, silver's up 9-10%, but the silver miners are up 100%.
Yeah.
Gold is up 15%, but the gold stocks are up anywhere from 40% to 100%. So the money, you buy them for different reasons, of course, but the smart money is entering into the sector now, specifically precious metals. This is not across the resources. As you and I both spoke to Rick Rule in New Orleans in October, and he said that he felt that gold would be the leader, or uranium, just because it had been in the bear market longer. But he felt that gold was the likely leader, and it would be the leader for a year or two before everyone else started to move. So, this is not a call for the resource sector to be in a bull market, but the gold stocks and silver stocks specifically, and maybe in a year and a half to 2 years, we'll start to be able to get back into some oil stocks and other type of plays like copper plays.
Now, as you well know, I spoke with Keith Newmeyer about 2 months ago, and he was saying that 2015, the miners were taking out the high grade ore just because of their operating cost and everything that goes into it. They had to produce product. How do you see that impacting 2016 as far as what are these guys going to be able to do this year? Are they going to be able to do something differently this year than they did last year, or is this trend going to continue?
Well, I think the biggest developing story happening in silver right now is that, one, you had actually less production in 2015 than 2014. That's important.
Okay.
And then the major development, though, in this whole thing is that 2/3 of silver comes from base metal mines. Well, the base metal mines are seeing weakness in demand out of Asia and out of all over the world. But it could be even more severe if the U.S. enters into a technical recession. As you know, I believe the U.S. is in a structural depression. But
yes,
if we're on a headline, CNBC recession, there'll be even less demand, less appetite for people to invest in these type of companies. So you have a situation where 2/3 of silver comes from a sector that are mines that are essentially in depression with no driver for them to turn around, no driver for copper, no driver for zinc. So there's no driver for these companies to turn around. However, the silver demand is surging, and
right.
a recession in the United States will make silver demand rise even faster, and gold's in a bull market. So it's all coming together for an enormous amount of silver demand, but the 2/3 of silver production comes from non-silver primary producers. So you've got supply kind of falling off a cliff here while demand is going through the roof. As far as the primary producers, the Tahoes or the First Majestics, the Endeavor Silvers, the Fortunas, these companies, they're really probably down to the cream of the crop here. The guys that are left, the guys that are running these projects, these really are the best people.
Yes.
And I know personally Bradford Cook of Endeavor Silver and Keith Newmeyer very well. I can tell you with Bradford Cook, he's very strategic. He knows what he's doing. I think Endeavor Silver, those people, any investor, I'm a shareholder, and I think those investors are in very good hands. He recently stated that they are going to reduce production. So, they are on top of this, and they're not going to just deplete their mines for the sake of depleting them at these low prices. Now, on First Majestic side, this is probably, without a doubt, it's my largest holding, so I'm totally biased. I have interacted and I talk to Keith on a weekly basis, and I've just never met such an individual. This is a relentless person. He's acquired, gosh, if you count First Mining Finance and First Majestic Silver, in the past year, he's acquired 7 companies. So this guy is looking for distressed sellers. He's looking for great assets. He's built $2 billion companies already.
Yep.
So I think there's a big opportunity for people who want to get into his new stock, First Mining Finance. But for people who are silver investors, man, if you feel like you've got enough physical silver and you're ready to get into the mining companies, if I could just give you one company, because I feel like this is like safe enough to give to, recommendation to grandma, that's First Majestic Silver. That
Yes.
company, we've saw silver go from 1450 to 1550. First Majestic went from 250 to 5. This was a $30 stock a few years ago, and its asset base, its production, it's only gotten better. So I think silver at 18, I would make the bet right now. Maybe you can have me back on the show when silver is at $18, which is not a big move for it's a very plausible move for silver this year. I have no doubt that First Majestic will trade for over $12 once that happens.
The man is brilliant. Like you said, he's developed $2 billion companies, and the business model that he has developed for First Mining Corporation it's one of the smartest, most brilliant ideas for business models that I've ever seen. I mean, it's just incredible. And I agree 100% with everything that you just said. I think that if I can convince my wife to allow me to get back into the sector, that would be who I would put my money on, and without question, without even thinking about it.
Well, and one thing I really like about him is he buys his own company.
Yes.
He's never sold a single share of First Majestic Silver. He's a buyer of First Majestic Silver. It's very early in the First Mining Finance, so of course he hasn't sold, but he's a big buyer. I mean, he bought literally over $1 million on the open market. So that's one thing that I like. A lot of times you'll see these financings where executives are getting the stock at a cheaper price than the public. Look, he's buying at the same levels you and I are buying at. Everybody's buying it where Keith Newmar is buying it. He's buying it on the open market just like everyone else. So in fact, he doesn't even receive a salary from First Mining Finance. This guy is all in. He believes the share price is going to go up because he's going to create so much value, which he has with that specific stock. It's gone from 0 ounces of gold this time last year to 9 million ounces. So, and this guy's not done. I mean, they did a press release in February 12th. They did a press release 2 days ago. I mean, it's just nonstop. These guys are acquiring assets.
I don't see him slowing down. I mean, I asked him what made him tick, why he does what he does, and he said because I like doing what I'm doing, and I like
he's having fun.
He's having fun, and when you're having fun, why stop? If you're not having fun, do something else.
Yeah, and for people who think they might have missed out, look, guys, we're like 5-10% off the bottom here. This is just beginning, and this lasts for years.
And I want to change gears just a little bit. I want to stay with gold, but I want to ask you about the Texas Gold Depository. And what is the latest on what's happening there, Daniel? Is there any news? Is it under construction? Are they still acquiring gold? Have they acquired all that they're going to at this point, or what's going on with that?
You know what? I'm actually a Texan now. So I wish I could speak with some authority on this, and I do follow this, but I haven't seen any kind of significant update since it really kind of came out. Basically, they said they were going to do it. They were going to back debit cards. Basically, you could have a debit card that would be backed with the gold. I want to say you actually broke that story, and I haven't really seen too many updates, and I actually look for that kind of stuff. Of course, through all the different media outlets that I follow, but here in Texas, here at home. And I haven't seen any major development out of that one. I can tell you from personal experience, the Utah one, I did throw some money at them. And honestly, I don't know if it's because it's government, but man, it's just so much more. You go to a company like Silver Saver or BitGold. It's very efficient. You feel comfortable. you feel like everything's fine. Man, I put a few $1,000s in this Utah depository just to see how the process worked, and I think it's been like 6 months. I'm still waiting for my Amex card
Oh
that's going to be
man.
backed by gold. You log in. Well, first of all, you try to buy gold, and it's not as if they'll just let you buy it. It takes like 30 days to purchase your gold, and so if you give them $1,000, they'll purchase like $50 worth of gold over the course of a few weeks here. So you don't actually just get to own the gold right away that day. So now they say it's to prevent day trading, but so far that one it's got me a little nervous. Private companies like Silver Saver and BitGold, I feel a lot more comfortable with. And then as far as the Texas depository, I am very excited about this happening. They did receive the gold, and they are the people who are running this and who've been in the media, they are definitely sound money people.
Yes.
So it does have me pretty excited that there's some sound money people here in Texas, and the governor here in Texas, very libertarian minded, very independent. Texas has a history of independence. It was its own country for about 9 years, and um, it's really good that it's here in Texas because there's such an independent mindset. And if there is going to be competing currencies in the future, I think there will be a gold or silver-backed currency here in Texas, as well as hopefully, plenty of digital currencies and any other currencies people want to create. But I do think the Texas depository here is significant, even though there isn't really any developments, that I can report to you. Uh, the significance of it is that some of the states, Utah, Texas, and a few others actually, are are seriously taking the risk of the dollar seriously,
Yep.
to the point where they are creating a backup plan.
They're taking action. I mean, in Texas, they never signed the documents to annex into the United States, so they still have that slight little barrier between themselves and the rest of the country. And when there was a few years ago, there was some serious talk about secession and Texas talking about seceding, and they said, "Well, we don't need to secede. We don't belong to these guys." So but you open the door to my next question, and that's pertaining to cashless societies and alternative economies. And just uh, Dave Kranzler and I just interviewed Craig Hemke over at TF Metals Report, and one of your team just interviewed Craig as well over the weekend, and over on the Crush the Street, and we discussed barter and entire communities pulling together to create an alternative economy. And this is in light of a cashless society, which there's just enormous amounts of talk about. And I said that I could easily see like Kansas City, Kansas, and Denver, Colorado conducting business in either gold, silver, or another form of currency that is completely outside of the current banking paradigm. And with all this talk of cashless society, how do you see, Daniel, gold and silver faring in a cashless society, and what role, in your opinion, would these monetary metals play?
I think the role they'll have is there'll be some sort of private currency that may back itself with the precious metals, so they could be a premier currency, the currency of the affluent, or even the common person with these some sort of silver and even maybe a copper backed currency, some type of hard asset currency. But it's interesting. I think we're already a cashless society. I went to Office
Or-
Max a few weeks ago. I got one paper printed out because my printer was broken. It was like 15 cents. And I swiped the debit card. So I think we're kind of the dollar is a digital currency, as you know. There's not that much cash out there to back all these digital dollars when you really look
Right.
at the big picture. So we have digital currencies like Bitcoin coming out, and you saw J.P. Morgan file a patent for J.P. Morgan DigiCash. And I think that is coming. I think, over the next 10, 15 years, you're probably going to see Amazon come out with their own currency and JP Morgan come out with their own currency and Microsoft. And you'll see a rise of other digital currencies. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to be it, but it will be Bitcoin or something like Bitcoin. And the governments, they're going to do everything they can to create some type of one world reserve currency. However, it's going to be hard to stop because with the rise of the digital currencies like a Bitcoin, and the renewed desire for people to have gold and silver and some type of safety backing their currency, I think that there will be a lot of private companies in Silicon Valley and in Austin and all throughout this country and the world coming up with new ways to pay for things. Because let's be real, we're on a parabolic move right now with technology and lifestyle. And if you consider that people go to Starbucks now and they use their smartphone just to swipe it. Well, not only does the government like that because people have to pay taxes even on the tip, but
Right.
Starbucks likes it as a business because they're able to bring customers in and alert them up for deals. So everybody's going to want to have either their, right now we call them apps, but in 5 to 10 years, everyone might want to have their own certain type of currency they offer. And that will make it really interesting because if we do get competing currencies all throughout the world, that would actually be really, really good for people, for citizens. Because right now, what we have is this debt-backed currency that basically it helps, the rich and the bankers, the uber rich, not normal rich people like the people who like the Rothschilds rich. So I think gold and silver will have a role, but I think it will be more it might be the premier currency and might not be the everyday swipe your card at Starbucks currency.
But why wouldn't something like BitGold fall into that category as far as an everyday currency? I mean, with what those guys have already in place, and I believe that they are moving towards or developing a crypto blockchain currency to go with it, to go with their card. And if that happens, then you would have a respected, well known product currency that is backed by gold, that fits within the digital paradigm, that is outside of the banking industry. Wouldn't that work? I mean, isn't that what you're talking about?
It would work, and it did work when gold and silver were pretty much the only realistic option. But the fact is these weaker and lesser of currencies are acceptable and do work. So it's hard to make gold and silver the accepted norm when most people, if you have a currency backed by gold and silver, they really don't want to spend it. They want to save it because there's an alternative. You can spend dollars, you can spend bitcoins, you can spend some other type of currency and hoard and save and preserve your great currency. So I think in a world, you go back to history where there really wasn't any good alternatives. You're either going to trade cows or wheat, but you have the metal. That was a great alternative. Gold and silver were absolutely the supreme currency. And I believe they can be the supreme currency again. However, because of technology, there there is such an acceptance of other currencies that why would you spend your gold and silver when you can spend and use your other currencies that are essentially backed by human time? If a waitress works 8 hours, that time, the value that she provided in order to trade it at the grocery store and trade it at, the bike shop or the bus stop or whatever, uh, you know, she doesn't necessarily need gold and silver to be involved in that trade. She just needs a medium of exchange that is accepted. So
Right.
that's my feeling. But I mean, of course, I'm speculating on this. But I think because of technology, that we're going to be able to barter our time very efficiently without gold and silver. However, I do think there will be a currency for that will be backed by many currencies backed by gold and silver. But those again, they might be more treasured currencies that people don't want to spend, or it might be the central bank's emergency currency that's backed by gold and silver. But as far as like day to day stuff, I don't know if people are going to be trading gold and silver ever again.
Would you see if, as this whole cashless, hard currency morphs into a more digital currency, do you see scenarios like I described just a moment ago, as far as like a community within Kansas City that has this manufacturing base doing business with the city of Denver, and those two cities trading in a type of currency or timeshare, if you will? Do you see that developing, or am I just way out in loony bin somewhere?
I actually have a friend who created a private currency in Colorado, and his name is Joby Weeks. You can search him online. He was, responsible for the Ron Paul blimp, and he created a physical currency in Colorado. It worked, and it still to this day works. It was amongst all the businesses kind of issued this currency together and supported it. But he created that before Bitcoin, and I think technology and the smartphones that are on us. I mean, within 10 to 15 years, we probably won't even have smartphones. It'll probably be some sort of attachment, almost practically to your body. And this is not my expertise, but I do watch what Google's doing, and
Yes.
I do fully appreciate the parabolic move we're having in innovation and technology and creativity. So I don't know if things are going to go back to the physical, because the electronic is just on a parabolic move. The technology that is there for private currencies and apps and smartphones and whatever is going to be probably embedded into our bodies somewhere eventually. But I don't personally see that scenario. I'm not saying it can't happen. I haven't given this a ton of thought. But just looking at the way technology is, and the millennials and the Gen Xers, and like my kids that are being raised in, I mean, these kids, you can think about the iPad and the iPhone wasn't around, like 11 years ago. There are kids being raised now where that's all they've ever known is smartphones and apps, and
Right.
information is just so quick. I even, this is going to get off topic, but I even question like where college will be in 20 years. Like, why would you need to go to college if you have such, the information is at your fingertip right now? Well, the information might be downloadable into your brain in 20 years. So I don't even know where, a lot of this stuff is going. But certainly for the currencies, I think that physical currency is definitely not in front of us, because if you look at the powers that be, the people at Silicon Valley, and then the entire generation that is being raised with technology at their fingertips and ease, to me, it's just not in the cards. It's all going digital, and it already is digital pretty much.
Pretty
But
much.
it's almost all digital, and it's probably going to go even more digital. And I don't see physical things because, and I know this might, and I'm not saying I favor this, because I don't want, some of the audience is very passionate about having physical
Yes.
ownership of
Thank,
things.
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so I'm not trashing it. I'm just saying, when I look at demographics, I look at the central bankers, and I look at the innovators, like the guy who founded PayPal. I can't think of his name right now, but I saw a commercial the other day, and it really, I'll try to find it. Maybe we can share it with the audience. You just Google YouTube, on YouTube, like
Yep.
PayPal advertisement. PayPal is the new money. There's like a 30-second ad talking about how PayPal is the new money.
It's on my
And
It's been on my TV. I've
yeah,
seen it.
and they actually show like the dollar bill and the euro as being the old currency,
Yep.
being the history, and PayPal is the new money. So I think but those three groups. The fact of the matter is, everybody below 40, the central planners, and the Silicon Valley people, it's definitely going digital. The physical crowd, is, the older white guy, um, you know, 50 and up, 60 and up, and it's not going that way, in my opinion.
Well, the problem that I have with what you described, and I'm not, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I think that it's heading in that direction. The problem that I have with it is negative interest rate policy.
Mm.
Once it goes digital, then they can charge whatever they want. Your account can be locked at any point in time because of an error, because you got a traffic ticket, because you said something wrong, because you did something that is perceived as being wrong, because of any number of a million reasons. All of a sudden, you're locked out of your financial world. And that's the issue that I have with it. And I think that that's a real concern, not to mention the lack of transparency. I have no way of conducting business on a private level. Not that I'm doing anything nefarious, but certain transactions, maybe I don't want anybody to know that I'm conducting that business. Maybe it's not anybody's business that I'm conducting business with this person or that company, or it's, like I said, it's not that I'm trying to hide something, it's that it's my business and no one else's. And once it goes digital, then it's everybody's business. And it just gives a I see it as losing complete control of my sovereignty and my humanity once that happens.
Your worry and your concern is the central planner's biggest motivator. And honestly, as you were describing that, I was just listening to you and going, "Oh my God, this is done. They're going to do
Right,
this." Yeah, like
right.
everything you're describing, I'm like, that they are absolutely going to. They absolutely want to stop that. They absolutely want every one of your worries and concerns. They want to fulfill.
Yes, that's their goal. That's the whole reason for this conversation around not the conversation you and I are having, but the larger conversation. That is the reason that people are being groomed for this. That's the whole idea. That is why it's really cool and hip and swinging, and it's convenient, and you need the new money, not the old money, and you want to be digital and not have all this messy old paper. Oh, and by the way, terrorists and drug addicts and drug dealers are using it. Never mind the fact that the too big to jail banks are doing drug money laundering as determined by courts of law. So it's there's a whole nother segment to it that's a huge concern of mine, not the least of which is my personal sovereignty and my personal humanity. It's none of their business.
Yeah, and the scary part for me personally is, with everything going digital, you'll have hackers, you'll have cyber
Right,
warfare, and
right.
of course, you leave yourself more exposed to that stuff. The more your financial wealth and your lifestyle is dependent on this, the more damage they can actually do to society if somebody was to attack that.
Exactly. Exactly. All of a sudden, you're walking down the street, you're headed down to Starbucks. I'm going to get me a frappe macchiato or whatever the heck it is this week. And, you got your phone and you swipe it and it's like denied. And it's like, well, what happened?
Exactly. Imagine a millennial dealing with that.
Where's my safe zone?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, we've been speaking with Daniel Ameduri from FutureMoneyTrends.com. And Daniel, tell them a little bit about what all you got going on over there.
Well, I wanted to create the personal finance for the new economy, and I think that's what we've built. I have a weekly wealth digest that goes out every Wednesday. We do have investment ideas and suggestions about saving, about find like I think tomorrow or Thursday's article is going to be about where do you find yield, and we're trying to have that mindset of solutions. So, there's a lot of problems, big systemic things going on out there. A lot of changes are going to happen, and we are looking for solutions for the way forward because I do believe financial wealth and money equal options, and it's the only way you're ever going to truly have your freedom is you got to buy it. You got to buy your freedom. So we do have, you know, it's a very high priority for us to, help our members continue to move forward. Don't let the economy have you in a defensive position for the next 15 years, because I don't want to see anybody be a refugee in their own country. So we're all about surviving and thriving.
Surviving and thriving. I like the sound of that. Well, Daniel, I certainly appreciate all your time and all your wisdom. This has been a great, great conversation, and I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time.
Well, we'll have you back on before too long as these as gold and silver continue their upswing and the miners continue surging forward, leading the way. And hopefully, I'll have you back on probably in about a month or so if you're okay with that.
I am. I look forward to it.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Rory.
Thank you.